It's not just this the language that's used to explain something that needs no such inclusivity. This language that basically goes the black community. This needs to stop. Stop, stop, stop. Because this whole thing, whereas folks want to be able to narrate something that just needs to be, like you guys say, isolated event. You need to isolate. Stop saying this black community. It's not a black community issue. It's specifically genocide. All right, starting with how we started, how we are currently today, is not where we come from. For one, this need to this need was a selfishly exploited operative, whereas those who did not want to bow down to this presentation of an alleged human being and making therefore a minority, okay, a person of color, a woman of color to be more specific. This lie that goes, you're white colonizers. Well, no, no, no. We already were white. And it that doesn't even matter because it would still be a crime even if we were minorities, it would still be a crime. You cannot justify the grooming of little girls, the incest that they're experiencing, the abuse that they're going through, how we're being taken from our homes, in which we first were German, taken from our homes, this newly created minority, woman of color, girl of color, placed with criminals without any DNA paternity testing being done, even though we as children disclosed to you and your agencies how we were being abused, and there was plenty of evidence of this. There were plenty of reports from our teachers, from other people, okay? And then the evidence, because on the basis of us being in isolation, whatever happened to us during these time frames, and why would it be so confusing or so hard to believe that that didn't happen because of this, that, and the third? What makes it difficult to believe? How would it be possible for us to become pregnant? How would it be possible for us to be these alleged prostitutes? How is it hard to believe? What is hard to believe? Which part is hard to believe? That there were plenty of women, regardless of what their ethnic background was, but in this case, we're talking about German women, okay, who were sexually assaulted. And obviously by a minority, because you don't show up having such features and such DNA and genetics unless there was a minority involved. This thing, whereas we want to brush it under the rug, we cannot do it. And this is happening all over this world, whereas these ones who obviously have these genetics of a person of color, a male, right? And not only are they not married to their victim, then the victim obviously is stating a fact that, hey, we're being sexually assaulted, and you guys keep on trying to evade having to talk about it or do anything about it by basically shutting her down, by telling her that she's being racist or she's being insensitive. Who cares? If she is being insensitive, good for her. But this thing is not an isolated event. And then the people who are politicizing this, they want to continue just ignoring it, and then basically all of our issues that we're bringing to the forefront, in which we're saying we're being sexually assaulted, we're being violated, we're going through physical abuse, we're being trafficked, we're going through hell, and folks want to continue to go bring up George Floyd and Tamir Rice, and I don't care about them. I'm sorry, but I don't. I'm sorry, but I don't. I don't care. And the reason why I don't care is because never once, historically speaking, modern day speaking, have or has any minority male ever done the right thing in regards to this issue. And what is the right thing? Not sexually assaulting women, preying on women, not objectifying, not degrading, disenfranchising, dressing up as a female only to mock us. And then the institutional powers, they use those positions 9 times out of 10, it's a female, regardless of her ethnic race, but majorly, yes. Just so happens to be that she's usually white. She's using her position of power as a judge, as a probation officer, as a social worker, to be the enabler and the enforcer of abuse. And nobody wants to touch this subject because, gee, by golly, you'd be accused of being a racist. I don't care what you're accused as. What I'm sick and tired of is males that have no business making children, for one. For one, that's one. For two, for these losers that are not even men, that have benefited off of the enslavement of women, all the while wanting us to suffer these abuses that go on unpunished. For three, when someone does rise up to the occasion to do something about it, they're oftentimes vilified and criminalized for doing so, for doing the right thing, because this institutional construct refuses to evolve or just to get out of business. Obviously, the competency does not exist within them to rationalize any of these things. They're basically enabling and condoning this male violence against women that simply do not want anything to do with said group. And this whole thing, whereas this big illusion, this magic trick that you guys are going through, because for whatever reason you're able to be desensitized and you're able to shut down and power off your brain, and you don't come to the mental place of yeah, no, you're not supposed to be sexually assaulting people, and it's still illegal. No matter when we were German or if we're now minority, it's still illegal. You're trafficking children. If that's what you have to do in order to get people to fund this machine, well, then you need to go out of business, because that's pretty pathetic if that's the best excuse that you have. Well, it's a necessary evil. I would only suggest that you go through that abuse. It's a necessary evil. And somehow in your guys' deluded thinking that, well, let's prosecute these people for abusing them. You can arrest a minor child who can't consent to sex, but somehow she can consent to being sexually assaulted for money, and that's her fault, all because she's a minority. But again, in a lot of these cases, she's actually not. In a simple DNA testing, DNA will, you can do a blood sample, whatever, do a genetic conclusion of what you're really looking at, and then come to the realization, like, yeah, how about that? How's that work? How's that work? You can't be just forcing yourself onto human beings, for one. For two, there's no excuse under the sun as to why it's going on. Pick your own damn cotton. And then this big myth, it well, not just a myth, it's all lies is the thing. It's all lies. Even if it were the case, say for instance that I'm an African, full-blooded African woman, is that somehow supposed to be an excuse as to why I'm being sexually assaulted? That's the excuse? So because I'm African, that makes it qualified to sexually assault me? Who's doing the sexual assaults? African. Does that somehow make it acceptable because he's an African and I guess I am too? Do a DNA paternity testing, do all that, and you figure out for yourself. And then when you find out, then you shut up. perhaps you'd shut up, because there'd be no reason for you to be passing out verdicts from that moment on, except unless they were verdicts for you to be detained and imprisoned. So genocide, sick of genocide. I'm sick of rape. I'm sick of these alleged can't even be men because they don't have any self-control over their own depravity. I'm sick of it being a somehow, why'd you let us do this to you? Why can't you have control over yourself? I thought you were more superior than us women. So because you guys wanted slaves and it was somehow acceptable to enslave someone who's weaker than you're an embarrassment to me. And you're still doing it. You haven't changed. Not one bit. But we all come from minority women, by the way. What you guys call minority black. But we all come from her, by the way. Way to show how evolved and superior your asses are. You're okay with abusing someone simply because of her skin color, but you always want to lump together those who aren't even victims. For one, you're not the best men to be making children. For two, the laws of nature says this: when there's a male rivalry or whatever, kind of like how the cat, they go to war against each other, they fight, and whoever wins gets the women and the babies. But you guys aren't doing that. You've basically said fuck women, especially the minority ones who, by the way, were changed. They were altered on the basis of women, especially European women, being raped and converted into black. And all of a sudden we just want to go, well, it doesn't matter. Let it go. Let it go because this crime is all in the past. Bitch, am I in the past or do you hear me? So now you have it to where you've got a case like my daughter, which she's definitely either one of the two. She's either severely damaged because you placed her with an illegal immigrant, a known pedophile, statutory rapist, has children, a number of children, who he was able to rape, a 13-year-old, to achieve getting said children absconding. After already being deported from this country, he was able to re-enter and sexually assault me. Now, he don't speak any English, no paternity testing done. And this is on behalf of you allowing females to preside as judges and you guys being perfectly okay with it because you're too much of a, I don't know, coward to figure out how to be a man, and you would prefer that mothers take care of you. Genetically speaking, the mothers of all creation are going to take care of you because you're not strong enough to be a fucking man, but you certainly are weak enough to rape her and then prosecute her for your inability to regulate your own fucking phallus. Way to drop the ball yet again. You know how to put your hands on her. You know how to be violent. You know how to profit off of her by mocking her on television, on daddy's television, by the way, because the Germans created it, thank you. And all of this just to cover up a lie. That's why you guys lie about sticking to your own. I wish that had been true and something that people abided by when it was this. When we were white, you didn't know how to stick to your own? Why is this one over here able to somehow, I don't know, become celebrated and worshipped and loved and adored? This is not a black community problem because there is no black community, for one. For one. For two, if he could not absolve the issue of institutional racism, he is not entitled to be making children, especially when we are showing up saying these very things. We were sexually assaulted. You can't talk about deceiving. Eve was deceived. No. Where is the accountability and the self-regulation for one's own body? You want to be able to regulate and deny autonomy, but then when it comes down to this, I don't know, shall we call it this legal reproduction of demons or what? It's a legal reproductive alleged right that is somehow distributed to those who simply get an erection, and you don't understand the problem here? Why would it be a cute idea to enslave the one who's able to make all of humanity? Every last one of you who are an alleged demographical group, you think that you're Latino, you think that you're Asian, you think that you're black, you think that you're mixed, you think whatever you guys are, whatever you want to claim that you are, whether you be white or black or anything in between, you all come from black women. You know that, right? Do you or do you not know that? You're okay with this one as a father, even though me, Mother Nature incarnate, I don't have any fucking interest. So you're trying to say that me consenting is not even required. You're just entitled to do as you wish with my fucking womb. We have a problem here, especially when you have nerve enough to excuse and uphold abusing those who make all of you. You're a disgrace. And you think that you're men and women? No, you're not. You should be doing this abuse to yourselves. That's what you should be doing. Abuse yourself. Don't drag me and my child, my product of rape. I'm a product of rape, and I can't stress that shit enough. No father was honored when my grandfather denounced this and then went ahead because the state somehow knew better than my own grandfather did. He knew how to raise his whole family during a depression and didn't require that his wife worked. She was a stay-at-home mother and a stay-at-home wife. But you guys somehow, with your great ideas, are perfectly okay with, I guess, state-sanctioned sexual assault and genocide. What a fucking failure. And you have the audacity to get real uppity when somebody calls you out on your shit. You think that this is the first time something like this has happened? No, there's women all over this world, and you guys keep throwing it under the rug. Nobody cares about what anybody's ethnic background is about. I'm concerned about people's character, the lack thereof.